Voting could begin as soon as tonight on a budget resolution that cleared a key procedural hurdle in the Senate last night. The resolution includes a framework for President Trump's tax cuts. The Senate voted 52 to 48 last night. The only Republican to break ranks was Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, who voted no alongside the Democrats. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion is joining me now from Capitol Hill. Nikole, break down this budget resolution and how do we expect the so-called vote-a-rama to play out?
Yeah, well, this is the next stage in a multi-pronged process to try to turbocharge President Trump's legislative agenda. Of course, he needs funding to enact his border security proposals. Obviously, he has talked a lot about energy independence, and of course, he wants to extend his tax cuts. So that is all part of this big, beautiful bill that he eventually wants Congress to pass. So what the Senate is doing today is they have tried to reconcile the two differing versions of these proposals, the House and the Senate version, into kind of a compromise resolution, if you will, and that is what the Senate will be voting on at some point in the coming hours. And so basically it will be a blueprint that will guide how this legislative package will take shape. It'll still take a number of months for it to get over the finish line, but it's just the next phase in the process.
So even if this clears the Senate, Nikole, what issues will it encounter in the House?
Yeah, well, that's the issue because, again, as I mentioned, we know that the House had its version, which kind of mirrored more this big, beautiful bill in the sense of really proposing some drastic cuts, whereas the Senate bill was a little skinnier, if you will, a little more narrow. So, again, that is something that even if this budget resolution clears the Senate and moves over to the House, could provide some sticking points for House members who are concerned that the Senate version is still too conservative, whereas the Senate feels the House version may go too far in terms of some of the cuts, particularly if it involves Medicaid. And many senators want to make sure that that isn't touched. The president has also indicated he doesn't want to touch Medicaid benefits. So again, they're going to have to still try to reconcile this and merge these two differing versions, even with this compromise package. But the House certainly wants to move the president's agenda along and is hopeful they can do that as soon as next week.
We've seen several lawmakers, Nikole, introduce some legislation to push back on the president's new tariffs. Could those have any impact?
Well, we'll have to see. We know earlier in the week, of course, there was a symbolic resolution that cleared with some Republican support that would nullify the emergency powers the president has to, for instance, tariff Canada. There was also a bipartisan measure that was introduced yesterday by Senators Grassley and Cantwell that would basically require the president to notify Congress anytime that there is a new tariff, and also requires Congress to sign off on any new tariff or potentially end any new tariff if they don't approve, because they do want to claw back some of the congressional authority that Congress has around trade policy. That being said, there are some senators who are staunchly behind what the president is doing, even if it's having a negative effect right now on the markets. Take a listen to what Senator Eric Schmitt told me on that front.
We're going to have balance. We're going to actually tell these countries, you've been ripping us off, and we're going to treat you like you treat us. So I think if you combine that with tax policy of making these tax cuts permanent for working folks, you combine that with energy dominance, you combine that with regulatory reform, you can combine that with not paying illegal immigrants taxpayer dollars, with a fair trade policy, we're going to have prosperity in this country.
So he's trying to take the long view, telling me, let's not worry about what's happening in the markets day to day. But certainly there are some senators who remain concerned about the ongoing volatility, Vlad.
All right, Nikole Killion for us, reporting from the Hill. Nikole, really interesting reports. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, friend.